Girlfriend wanted an open relationship, so I broke up with her. Now she wants to get back together. I'm a 23-year-old guy who was in a relationship with a girl the same age as me. We had been dating for about 4 years, which is a pretty long time, especially at our age. Things seemed normal until the last month we were together. For nearly a month, she seemed okay, just acting normal. But then, suddenly she decided to have a serious talk. During this talk, she dropped a bombshell on me. She wanted us to start having an open relationship. This means she wanted both of us to have the freedom to date other people while still dating each other. This idea was a total shock to me. From the start of our relationship, I'd always thought we were exclusive, just the two of us, committed only to each other. That was my understanding and expectation. When she suggested changing this fundamental part of our relationship, it felt like she wasn't the same person I had fallen in love with. Because of this huge shift in what she wanted, I ended the relationship immediately. For me, being in a relationship means sharing a special bond with just one person, not multiple people. If she and I didn't agree on this basic principle anymore, it seemed clear that we didn't have a future together, especially considering how she was acting before she brought this up. Now here's where it gets a bit messy. Even though I felt I couldn't trust her anymore because suggesting an open relationship felt like a betrayal of what we had agreed upon, she started reaching out to me after the breakup. She's been sending texts and voicemails, really upset, crying and asking me to reconsider, claiming she didn't really mean what she said about wanting an open relationship. Since then, I've been feeling a mix of emotions. Some of my friends and people I talk to think I might have reacted too quickly. They believe I was a bit harsh for ending things so abruptly without sitting down to talk more about it or to work through potential misunderstandings. This has made me wonder if I did jump to a decision too fast. So I'm stuck thinking about whether I made the right choice or if I should have handled the situation differently. It's tough because I felt strongly about what I wanted, but now I'm being told that maybe there was a different way to approach the situation. What's your take on this? Did I act too quickly, or was my reaction justified given the circumstances? Now for the type of comments before reading the update. Nope. You went with your instincts. You were correct. If she wants to sleep with other people, she can do it without you. I don't understand why she feels like she needs you. You gave her exactly what she wanted. Why isn't she happy? Exactly, she got what she wanted. A pass to sleep with other people. Just without the boyfriend. Good for you. She's probably had someone in mind. It didn't work out. Now she's crawling back. You know what you want in a relationship and she's not it. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if I found out who she had cheated, either emotionally or physically already, and was just trying to use it as an excuse. I can't trust a person who suddenly wants to turn a monogamous relationship into an open poly-own, especially with the way she was acting the month before all this happened. I spend too much time on this sub in situations like yours. Almost always seems to start with a partner getting a wandering eye and wanting to cheat without consequences. So the idea of open relationships just gets brought up. I think your instincts are correct. I would commend you for being put together enough to know what you want and secure enough to not compromise your values. Now for the update. Update. Hello everyone, I thought it would be good to give you an update, especially since a few of you messaged me asking for one. When I first posted, I really didn't anticipate there would be much more to share, particularly so soon. Last time, I shared some of my doubts about my ex possibly cheating on me, but now I've got a bit more to tell. That uneasy feeling about the whole situation just wouldn't leave me. Initially, I tried to ignore it, hoping it would fade, but curiosity and a need for clarity took over. I decided to do a bit of detective work. I started asking around, particularly targeting our mutual friends, to see what she had been up to over the past month. I had noticed she'd been acting strangely, and I needed some answers. To my surprise, one of her closest friends, who I didn't expect would reveal much, ended up confirming my worst suspicions. It turned out she had been cheating on me with a cousin of one of our mutual friends. Hearing it straight from someone so close to her made the reality of the situation sink in deep. Feeling a mix of anger and the need for some direct answers, I reached out to the guy she was seeing. I sent him a message on Facebook, and he quickly replied, suggesting we meet in person to talk about everything. We agreed to meet at a local pub, a neutral place where we could discuss the situation openly. When we met, he was incredibly apologetic and transparent. He explained that he had no idea she was already in a relationship. He only found out about me the day she called me trying to get back together. That's when he decided to break things off with her. He seemed genuinely regretful about the whole ordeal. I found it hard to hold any resentment towards him. He appeared honest and really sorry about how things turned out. On a lighter note, he insisted on buying the drinks during our conversation, which was a kind gesture. I ended up learning that not only is he a decent person, but he's also quite a stand-up guy, good-looking and respectful, which made me consider briefly the idea of getting back at my ex by seeing him myself. But of course, that thought was more about amusement than actual intent. Now, with all this new information, I feel a sense of closure that was missing before. I've taken the step to block my ex on all social media and communication platforms. I'm in the process of packing up her belongings that were left at my place. I plan to mail everything back to her to ensure she has no reason to visit. I'm even tempted to leave a cheeky note in the box, something like, "Mark was nice, too bad you lost him too," just to twist the knife a bit more. Sorry if this post seems a bit scattered. I'm typing this on my phone, and between my clumsy thumbs and a few drinks, it's not the easiest task. But sharing this with you and getting your insights feels really good. Thanks for being such a supportive community. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Cheers! Story 2. Am I the a-hole for not allowing my daughter to attend my best friend's wedding to her biological father? I know how bad that sounds. And I'm starting to admit this is fully based on my feelings of betrayal, hurt, and disgust. I, 27 female, have an amazing daughter, age 12 female, and I'm married to the most amazing man. T, 27 male in the world. My daughter and I have been living in Japan for the last 9 years, the home country of my husband. I returned to the UK for the first time since leaving this month, August 20th, 23, to meet my nephew. My best friend are 26 female, and I have been best friends since we were 3 years old. She has always been my rock through everything, especially when I was pregnant with my daughter. As you can see, I gave birth to my daughter when I was 15. Her biological father, D, 33 mil, has had no interaction with either of us since the night I got pregnant, nor ever showed any interest until now to address the elephant in the room. D raped me when I was 15 and he was 21. I come from a very religious family, aka my father is a deacon. There was no option, however. I absolutely adore my daughter and do not equate her to that horrible experience. She saved me, and I have spent every day loving her, thanks to a lot of supportive therapy and her just being the most loving little sweet peach out there. A few other things to note. She doesn't know the nature of her conception as to how do you explain that to any child under any circumstances. My husband officially adopted my daughter, and their bond is incredibly strong. They are not biologically related, but the love and mutual adoration they share are undeniable and profound. During a court agreement that was part of his sentencing, her biological father, D, relinquished all his parental rights in exchange for a lighter sentence, effectively stepping out of her life for good. Now, on to the main events of my recent trip back to the UK, which has been a roller coaster of emotions. I decided to make the journey to meet my newborn nephew and thought it would be the perfect opportunity to surprise my family and friends with a visit. I planned this trip in secret, sharing my plans with only my mother to keep the surprise intact. The reactions were absolutely priceless. Joy, shock, and pure happiness from everyone. It was a delightful experience, particularly for my daughter, who is relishing the attention and love she's receiving from her aunts. They were all overjoyed to see her and spend quality time with her. Amid this happy reunion, I also had the idea to surprise another person, my longtime friend R. I thought it would be wonderful to catch up with her unexpectedly, so I traveled to her house, filled with excitement. However, the moment I rang the doorbell, I was confronted with a shocking and painful sight. The man who answered the door was none other than the person who had caused me tremendous pain in the past. Initially, I was confused and thought I had made a mistake with the address, but then R appeared, greeting him affectionately as Babe. My heart sank. The situation unfolded like a scene from a cliched teen drama, where the protagonist discovers a betrayal by her best friend and boyfriend. I knew R had been dating someone new, and she had promised to introduce him to me in person. Trusting her completely as my best friend, I never imagined she could be involved with him. This revelation felt like a betrayal not just of friendship, but of all the shared confidences and support we had exchanged over the years. Since that day, I've been reeling from the shock and hurt, struggling to come to terms with her choices. In the days following the incident, R has been persistently trying to contact me, sending messages and calling, eager to explain herself and apologize for the distressing way I found out about their relationship. After days of ignoring her attempts, I finally decided to hear her out. Although I'm still deeply hurt, I agreed to listen because part of me hoped for some sort of reasonable explanation that could mend the rift between us. During our conversation, R expressed her apologies, but so many emotions and questions remain unresolved for me. The discussion about the potential forgiveness for my friend R and her relationship with my ex, who had deeply hurt me in the past, has been extremely hard for my husband and me. He is fully aware of the distress this man caused in my life, and understandably, we were both very upset. During a recent call with R, as we were navigating through our tumultuous conversation, she dropped yet another bombshell. While my daughter was still in the room, R casually mentioned preparing for her upcoming wedding, hinting at dress fittings for the wedding party. I was confused and asked her to clarify, hardly believing what I was hearing. Shockingly, she explained that she wanted my daughter to be the flower girl at her wedding, as she was going to marry the man who is my daughter's biological father. This was something we had whimsically planned as children, that our kids would participate in each other's weddings. However, given the current circumstances, I found the idea utterly inappropriate and painful. I firmly told her that under no circumstances would my daughter be involved in that wedding. R accused me of being petty and jealous, and argued that I couldn't stop her real dad from being a part of her life, a statement that felt like a low blow considering the complex and painful history involved. Since that conversation, which ended abruptly this morning, we haven't spoken. To add to the emotional turmoil, mutual friends have started messaging me, saying that R is devastated, accusing me of ruining her wedding plans. They seem to think I'm overreacting, but I feel strongly that my decision is not only morally justified, but also legally sound. I believe in protecting my daughter from potentially harmful emotional situations, especially involving a man who has such a troubling past with us. The idea of having my daughter participate in a ceremony that celebrates the union of R and this man is something I cannot accept. As I process these events, I am trying to stay firm in my beliefs and protect my family's well-being, despite the pressure and backlash from those around me. It's a challenging time, but my priority is the emotional and psychological health of my daughter and ensuring that the decisions I make are in her best interest. So I'm putting my most personal story online and asking, am I the a-hole? Now for the update. Update 1. Just to prevent any disappointment, this isn't a proper update, but more so a post. For more information with a little update at the end, you can skip to that if you want to. First, thank you to those who took time to assure me that I'm not, in fact, crazy for believing myself to be in the right. Second, to those saying that this is fake, please manifest that harder, so I wake up from this nightmare. Third, my bad for the title. I also would have taken it as my best friend marrying her own dad. He answers the questions I've seen/received, moving to Japan at 18. I'm in a very lucky and privileged position to have an uncle who moved to Japan following his deployment in the Navy many years ago. Additionally, my parents wanted me to finish high school in sixth form before shipping me off to the other side of the world to avoid judgment from the community. If they could have just sent me to Neptune, they would have. Plea deal. I use this term as it is more commonly known, but if you want an accurate depiction of what happened, I'll do my best to explain that I'm not a lawyer and be talking about a period of my life. I did my best to forget D was charged with the statutory rape of a minor, which is a Category 1 for harm because it resulted in a pregnancy. It was also considered Category B for culpability because it wasn't premeditated and was played off, if the age of consent was lower. This wouldn't be an issue type of thing. There are not plea deals in the UK, but there are plea bargains, which are used to encourage people to plead guilty. So there is no trial or shorter trial if it's already began through lower, lesser charges or reduced sentences. There was other factors involved. He pled guilty and had previous arrests or convictions, had a letter from a psychiatrist saying that he lacked maturity due to some disorder, and he showed remorse during the hearing because of this. His charge was reduced to a Category 2 harm and Category B culpability case, sentenced to 5 years in prison, placed on sex offenders register until he was notified of being removed. He served around 3.5 years of that sentence before being released and was on the sex offenders register until last year sometime because of a review showed he had changed or something. I'm not really sure, my friend explained it to me today, but we're like 3 rows down the grapevine at this point, so take that with a pinch of salt. 3 deacons. There are around 738 active deacons in the UK currently. My father is not one of them. Hasn't been since 2019 as he has been living in the US, looking after my grandmother. Not that I have to explain that currently only 2 of my 4 sisters live in the UK, with another living in Sweden to study, and another in the US. I recognize completely the privilege we have to live all over the world. If this means you think I'm lying, then I repeat, please keep manifesting that. So I no longer have to deal with this. For I am many things, but my daughter is my whole world and I will do anything to protect her. I was not here to see if I should allow her to go to the wedding. I had already decided that there was no chance in hell that was happening. Don't call me a bad mother. Everything I have done has been what I believe to be in her best interest. 5. My BF was the first person I told about what D had done to me. It was her and her mum who took me to the police station. It was her who sat with me crying in the school toilets when I was being sick. It was her who watched all the videos sent to me by the baby support class. I don't know what change she has been going through a lot, facing many issues through COVID, but nothing I can think to explain this change. Update 2. My husband has been working on changing her flight tickets because there's been some trouble with the air traffic control over in the UK. This means the planes can't take off and land as they normally would, so changing flights has been tricky. He hasn't been able to fix it just yet, but we're still trying to figure out a way around this issue. I've been talking to our lawyer too because I wanted to make sure that no one could legally challenge us over our family situation. He confirmed that legally, we're in the clear, which is a relief. But I can be a bit of a worrier and tend to think about every possible thing that could go wrong, so even with the good news, I find myself still feeling anxious. Now, about my daughter, she's reaching a really sensitive age where kids start to feel more deeply about things. She has some idea that something upsetting happened in the past, but I haven't told her the full story yet. The truth is, she was born from a very distressing event, and I've been careful not to tell her that directly because I never want her to feel unwanted or unloved. Because it's such a delicate time, my husband and I agree that we need to start being more open with her. I've already set up an appointment for her to see a child psychologist once we're back from our trip. This will give her a safe space to talk about her feelings, and she can choose if she wants us to be there during these discussions, or if she'd rather talk privately. Dealing with my own trauma over the years has been tough. I've realized that by delaying this conversation, I was more so protecting myself from reliving those painful memories. I thought I was doing it for her, but now I understand it was also for me. We've taken steps to ensure that the person who hurt me cannot contact us anymore. We've blocked him on our phones and social media. For the time being, while we're still in the UK, she will always be with either my husband, my mother, or me. I really want to thank everyone for their supportive words. Though it's been a challenging time and my mind seems to be constantly buzzing with worries, I'm focused on being strong and providing a stable, loving environment for my daughter. Update 3. Hi there. I never thought that I'd be the one of those people doing an update on a Reddit thread, but here we are. Welcome back to what is hopefully the final update needed for this horrific experience. First of all, I want to thank you all for your words of support and those reaching out to me privately and on the comments. I believe I've read most of them, but there were so many I couldn't reply to all. Second, we're back in Japan. Have never felt so warm. We arrived back this morning and my in-laws being godsends picking us up about awful our honor. The full update and everything that is to come. My husband and I sat down with our daughter and explained that we'd be leaving early, and honestly, that was so difficult in itself that I almost backed out explaining everything to her about DH, which she is honestly the most amazing human in the world. It felt as if she was the one getting me through it. Her and I had the conversation as my husband fulfilled the promise to my brother-in-law to make his famous pad Thai before we left. The conversation itself wasn't that bad. Turned out she was already privy to some information that it was SCA related. My father, the delightful man that he is, explained last Christmas that some sins are easier to forgive, and I'm not exactly sure on the wording he used, but essentially warned her that my bastard childbirth was forgiven by God because it was forced upon me. But she needs to stay pure to be led into heaven. I had heard part of the conversation, but not the full thing. Got into an argument with him about the way he speaks to my child, and how he's not to force his beliefs onto her as I refuse to raise my daughter the same way we were raised. This is not an invitation to voice or religious beliefs or opinions. You do no judgment here. Essentially, after his comment, her own very sneaky research, she put 2 and 2 together, matched my age, and concluded the nature of her conception without telling me. Obviously, for me to confirm it, that was a whole other thing. We both went through the 5 stages of grief in that short time. I apologized for keeping her in the dark, and this conversation will obviously continue throughout the years. But on her terms, she's a bright girl. She is very aware of things around her, and I know that she will go on to do amazing things, most trying to prepare myself for any questions, arguments, or issues she brings to me. I expect that once we settle back home, there will be further emotions, and I'm willing to work through my own trauma in order to help her through hers and my husband. He is the greatest support either of us could have. She has her consultation with the therapist on Thursday. She wants us all to go together, and then she can decide on what course she wants to take. From then on out, she's just been catching up on her sleep yesterday and today, and without going into the details of what went down with she understands not to reach out to her, and if she receives anything from her to tell me or her dad straight away. She pushed for a few answers, but my husband, working his usual magic, promising her ice cream, encouraged her to settle for the very basic answer of your mom, and had a falling out. And it's pretty bad. She's smart enough though, so that answer won't work for long, but it gives me time to discuss it with my own therapist and the child therapist. So we'll see where to go from here. I've had no communication with our or anyone. He reached out to me to complain that I ruined her wedding. One friend went as far as to confront me at the pharmacy on Friday, but luckily my sister was ready to fight and he backed off. No one knew we were leaving other than my immediate family, so there was no hassle there. I truly hope that one day I'll understand what Ara's done, what has happened to her and her former friendship to lead to this. But alas, for now, it remains unknown and truly hope. This is the end of the saga, and we can start moving forward. And beginning with my daughter's journey of recognizing she is not the product of a hateful and violent experience, but instead the product of love, beauty, and comfort given to her by her father and me. Sorry for the boring ending, but it's my life. So I'm not actually sorry as I am over any type of drama, but thank you to those who cared and reached out. May none of you reading this ever feel this betrayal, hurt, or destruction. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for not taking down our 12-foot skeleton because a neighbor's son who was afraid of it? So we moved into this cool new neighborhood around April, and I've been buzzing with excitement about Halloween ever since. One of my big dreams was to put up a massive 12-foot tall skeleton. You've probably seen these giants online. They're pretty iconic and absolutely massive. Fast forward to September, I couldn't contain my excitement anymore and decided to put up the skeleton at the beginning of the month, even though Halloween was still a ways off. Our street loved it. People chuckled when they walked by, and some local teenagers even made it a photo op spot. My next-door neighbor caught the Halloween spirit from it too, and started planning his own decorations to complement the giant skeleton. However, not everything was smooth sailing. A few blocks away, there's a younger kid who walks past our house on his way back from school. It turns out, he finds the giant skeleton terrifying. Every time he sees it, he gets really upset and starts crying. His mom, hoping to ease his fear, came over one day to talk to me. She was very polite about it and asked if there was any chance I could take the skeleton down because she felt it was a bit too much for her son. To be honest, I never meant for my Halloween decor to actually scare anyone. I'm not into the whole spooky horror side of Halloween. My vibe is more playful and fun. I like things that make people laugh, not scream. The skeleton, with its oversized frame and goofy grin, was meant to be a silly addition, not a nightmare inducer. Plus, I'm totally not the type to get caught up in the darker, edgier stuff like true crime podcasts that seem to be all the rage. I wrote about this whole situation while sipping on a pumpkin spice latte, PSL for short, which is pretty much as lighthearted and autumnal as it gets. I'm actually more likely to be watching an episode of Gilmore Girls, just a cozy, feel-good show, than delving into mysteries or thrillers. So, in my little Halloween tale, there's a mix of fun, community spirit, and a bit of neighborly negotiation. It's all part of the seasonal excitement and trying to balance everyone's happiness, including us scared little kids. Halloween is about community and fun, and sometimes that means adjusting along the way to keep everyone smiling, or at least not crying. I'm into the fun side of Halloween, and it's similar to how I enjoy Taylor Swift, pumpkin spice lattes, and maybe a touch of true crime, though I'm actually not really into the true crime scene. It's a bit too intense for me. I joke about being part-time basic in a world where loving cozy autumn vibes is seen as typical or cliché, from adoring fall drinks to binge-watching feel-good shows. But then things got complicated with one of my neighbors. Her son, who is quite young, is genuinely terrified of my skeleton. She approached me, hoping for a compromise. I tried suggesting maybe softening its look with a silly hat or a shirt to make it less intimidating. However, she wasn't satisfied and insisted that I take the skeleton down. I explained how much this decoration means to me, not just as a Halloween prop, but as something that brings me real joy amidst these turbulent times. I mentioned spending $300 on it to highlight how much I'm invested in enjoying it. For me, it wasn't just about the money. It was about my right to enjoy things that make me happy. The conversation took an awkward turn when she hinted that based on the house I bought, money might be tight for us. She tried to appeal to my empathetic side, mentioning that being considerate towards her scared son wouldn't cost me anything. Caught off guard, I didn't have a clever response ready and simply thanked her for her suggestion before going back to my gardening. She didn't just walk away, though. She took a photo of my house, or maybe the skeleton, likely to share on social media or within her mommy groups, probably painting me in a negative light. And now, whenever she walks by, there's this tension, a silent disapproval captured by my doorbell camera. My husband agrees with me. We see no reason to take down the skeleton, especially since the alternative route she could take for her son wouldn't even add much to her walk. So here I am, standing by my giant skeleton, amid a clash of Halloween spirit and neighborly disputes, clinging to the joy it brings me in a world that could surely use a bit more lightheartedness. I think she is being unreasonable and playing up the whole corny mama bear thing. But am I the a-hole?